everyone. I am thrilled to host another edition of a podcast entitled Life Notes with Dr. Wilkins. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and coach, and I've been hosting a series of discussions with folks from all walks of life who are navigating life in what I would deem to be unique and impressive ways. The theme of this particular series of Life Notes is called Single, Growing, and Thriving. It features Black women who are above the age of 40 years old and have curated lives that defy the myth that to be grown and single equates to unhappiness. Please join me in welcoming my guest today, whose name's Latoya Foster, and who is a creative soul in various different mediums. I'm going to let Latoya tell you herself what that means. Latoya, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
Yes. So talk to us. Different mediums of creative. What does that mean?
So I grew up working with my hands. When I was a kid, I would do things like making jewelry. I've always been an entrepreneurial spirit. So I sold candy in school. I was that girl. Um, as I grew up, I started doing things like I had a jewelry business. I also had a bling business where I was actually blinging cups. I did that for a while. Um, so when I say creative soul, I like to dream of things, think of things, and then make them. Right now, it's more graphic design. It's more painting, drawing, things like that. Creativity is huge for me, a big part of my life.
Yes, it must be huge because I didn't even know that part of you. And the little bit that I did know, I was already calling you the Black Martha Stewart. And so, in addition to the graphic artist stuff, you do some other stuff, one in which I'm particularly excited about. What's the other Martha Stewarty stuff that you're being humble about?
Yeah, I had a dessert business for a long time. Um, my mother had a dessert business as well. So I always say I grew up with like flour on my nose. I've been baking since I was a baby. And I had a baking business when I lived in Atlanta, and I'm starting it up here as well. So I love to do things like Southern desserts, lemon pound cakes, red velvet cake, chocolate chip cookies, things like that. That's another one of my passions, another way to get out my creativity. Yeah.
Uh, I have a sweet tooth. You're making me hungry and I need lunch. You're also, yeah, you do other things. You're being humble, but I'm gonna let you be humble. You mentioned up here. Where are
Yeah.
you now? You mentioned up here. Where are you now? You mentioned Atlanta. Talk about your life trajectory. Where are you from? Where you been? Where are you?
Okay. I have a very long life trajectory,
Cool.
so it's gonna take a second. Bear with me. So I was born in Alaska. I lived there until I was 12. Then we moved to Puerto Rico. And from Puerto Rico, I went into the military. I was in the military for 7 years. Um, and I say all that to say I've traveled, I've done it, and I love it. So when I was in the military, I was in Texas, England, Korea, Nebraska, Virginia. Then I got out of the military and I moved to Atlanta for a huge part of my life. Then I got tired of Atlanta, to be honest. So I really had to do some real thinking about where I wanted to live. And I ended up in Mexico City, and I love it here.
Mexico City. Amazing. Okay, I didn't know all those different places. And in my mind, you are like a free spirit, and I'm having problems thinking you're former military. raised in a military family, right? Your family was military. Mm-hmm. And now you're a free spirit.
Yes,
So
yes,
connect
very
all
much so.
that for me. Connect that.
Um, yeah, the military, like both of my parents were Air Force.
Mhm.
So, and they got out of the Air Force when I was probably like 3. That's how we got to Alaska. Um, and I went into the military kind of spur of the moment. I just wanted to get out my parents' house. College wasn't working out for me. I went into the military. It was one of the better decisions I've ever made. I was able to travel a lot, have really wild and fun and different type of experiences. It opened me up to um, different cultures and meeting new people and living in different areas of the world. And that particular bug never left. There are some of my friends that went into the military and they wanted to get back home, couldn't wait to get back to the States. I was the exact opposite. I was always like, okay, so this is what it's like living in Korea. I wonder what it would be like to live in Brazil or, uh, you know, Bali. That's another one of my dream spots. Uh, and so it's always been in the back of my head. And I never wanted to feel like I only wanted to live in the States. I knew there was just a lot out there for me. As I think that's part of where the free spirit comes from, but also my love of travel. Um, my parents, they were both military, but I don't think they took the strict part of the military with them. I think they took the exploration part. So it just all kind of fits for me. For me, mind you, my brothers and my sister, they're not leaving the States. But for me, it touched something in myself. So yeah.
Uh, I love that. So it's the generational trickle down from your
Yeah,
parents.
yeah,
Hmm.
I never really thought about it. But yeah, I think so. I think so.
What is it about your personality that has led you to like carve out what I would consider a unique lifestyle? What do you think?
I think one, I'm never scared. Like I'm scared. Let me correct myself. I have a healthy fear of a lot of stuff. Healthy, but I'm never scared. So even though, even though it may feel like uh, I should be scared or I should be worried, if I was to be honest, I can't tell you how many people told me never go to Mexico. Cannot tell you. Like the list was endless to the point where I stopped telling people I was leaving the States because people, pardon my French, shit on my dreams every chance they
Mhm.
got. So I think that's a big part of it. One, I'm not afraid, um, which is probably why I navigate these streets. I won't say recklessly, but I do it. Like today, I walked home from my dentist and I walked about an hour and a half. Probably should have got an Uber, but I was like, no, I just want to explore the city. One of my favorite things to do. Another part of my personality, I think I'm open to learning new cultures. Um, I One thing that I think some people struggle with when you come from the States is the habit of thinking that our way is the only way or the best way. Um, it's not. It's not. And um, I think that's another big part of me is that I like to learn different cultures, see how they navigate things. Does it work better for me? Does it work better for them? I'm pretty open to that. What else? I love exploration. Like today, walking an hour and a half, and all I did was like walk past stores or see new people or practice my Spanish, you know. And that bug never left. I can't always say I was a free spirit, but what I can say is at one point in my life, I just had to sit down with myself and say, okay, you're making great money. You've had great opportunities where you're living now, but are you truly happy? And the answer for me, can't say what, you know, it would be for other people, but for me, it was no. And with that, I started to research living outside of the country.
Hmm. I'm curious, when was that point that you started evaluating, are you happy?
Ooh, it probably has been like well, I've been here for 2 years, so it probably was a 5-year process, right? Like it didn't happen overnight. I was going to work, hated it, hated the environment, loved the money, right? The convenience that it bought me, but I wasn't satisfied. And I remember somebody said something to me years ago. If you're not satisfied with something, change it. And I remember them saying that to me, and I thought, what a simplistic ass, way of thinking, right? Like, what do you mean change it? But the more I thought about it, the more that person was right, right? Like, if you're not happy, you need to find a way to make yourself happy because in the end, you can only control that. And so that started me down a path where I was like, okay, what don't you like about your life? Okay, you don't like your job. You don't like the traffic. You don't like living in the city. You honestly don't really want to stay in the States. Okay, so what does that mean? What does that look like? Where could you go? And then, you have to think about what your life will look like outside of the States, what it would take to move outside of the States, and then really make that leap. Because I think for a lot of people, they've done this. They've done this examination of their life, but they don't take the leap. And so for me, it was about, okay, you figured out what you want, you figured out where you could live or a variety of places you could live. Now let's see if we can actually do it.
Hmm.
Kind of long-winded, but yeah.
No, no, no. I appreciate it because what I was thinking of when I asked you how long ago was it was that like, okay, so if you're over the age of 40, then that's like a time where, you're evaluating, do I have all the things? Most women are evaluating, biological clock things and
Yeah.
relational things, and so it's super interesting to me that you were like, what makes me happy, and that it didn't map onto those traditional scripts of the things that you're supposed to want in your 40s.
Yeah.
How did you, I don't know, defy that or move away from that? What is it about you
That made
that
me
wasn't
non-traditional, you mean?
yeah, and that wasn't pressed? Some women over 40 are going to, you who are single or don't have kids. We haven't even talked about that. But like they're going to be pressed about getting those things. And it sounds like that's not where your head was.
No, because having kids or being in a relationship, I definitely want to be in a relationship, right? And that'll come for sure. But in the meantime, looking for a relationship or having that type of headspace wasn't going to bring me my joy for me, right? Like again, we're just talking about, like for
Sure.
Latoya. Um, I didn't want to wait until I found a man to be happy because that's not even real. Like, come on, stop it. Uh, and I've never been interested in having kids. I've always been that type of girl where I was like, nah, I'm good. So then what can I do to take myself out of the situation I'm in and put myself in a place where I'm living my best life. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So like I imagine that there have been people around you like, what's happening? Why are you know you're supposed to be settled down and doing this in the States and you know what did those voices sound like and how did you put them to the side?
I'm a pretty private person. I don't talk about myself a lot, but when I did, I opened myself up to probably, I think, 4 or 5 people, to include my mother. And every single one of them was like, no, you can't do this. You can't leave the country. You're gonna be an old woman living by yourself. You're never gonna be happy. You How are you gonna know you're gonna be safe? The whole cartel argument. It was a lot of negativity hitting me from left and right. If I was to do what my mom wanted me to do, I would have children, I would be married, and I would be living the life that I did not desire, which is going to work, making your money, leaving work, making dinner for everyone, going to bed, rinse and repeat. That just wasn't for me. So,
Mm. Mm.
and so when I heard those voices, instead of letting them influence me, I stopped talking to them, right? Because it was the only thing I could think of to protect my peace. And that was paramount for me. If I had listened to other people, I don't think I would be here. So,
Mm. The importance of village and not just any kind of village, but like-minded village comes to mind. And the fact that you did this without village, supported village around you makes it even more impressive.
well, I will say this, there were 2 people in my life, 2 random people. Now I'm really cool with them, but at the time, it was 2 random people. It was 1 Black man, 1 Black woman. And I told them offhanded, like, it was not like, it wasn't a big deal, and they both were like, "You better go. You better do it. I am rooting for you. Yeah, I cannot believe you're gonna do this, but every step of the way, I'm here for you." And they were. So they were my 2 angels. Um, yeah, they literally were like, "You got this, sis. Don't worry about it. Do your research. You know, as long as you feel good about it, I support you." And that, I can't say I wouldn't have gone anyway, but that was really, really helpful to me in my journey. So,
I love that because it's sometimes to live the life that you want to create means that you're stepping away from areas of support that, the typical areas of support. If you had to do it all again, what would you
mm,
tell yourself at the beginning of this journey? What would you say?
you are unstoppable. You are built for this. Everything that you think you can't do, you can do it 3 times over. Um, Rely on yourself, do the research, ask the questions, find good people, but in the end, it's about you. You got this.
Mm,
That's what,
I love that. Embedded in that, the idea of you being unstoppable.
yeah.
I wonder if you have a story of like you having to persevere, like having to push through and not knowing if you were going to be able to do it while you've been on this journey.
I mean, I have a bunch of stories about living here, but I think the biggest story was my leaving the States, right? So at this point, maybe like we're talking maybe like 3 weeks before I leave, I've told everyone I know, I don't care what you think. And I had a lot of people, oh, I'll support you. I'll help you get to the airport. I'll come get the stuff that you need. And a week before, these people started dropping off left and right, right? And I had a decision to make. Am I going to keep pressing and let those people cook, or am I going to quit? So I had lived in Atlanta for 7 years. I had all kinds of stuff. I'm talking about like when you leave a home, when you move, it's like stuff grows, like for real. So I
Mhm.
thought I had this much, I really had this much. I had to get rid of 99.9% of everything I had because my goal was to leave with 2 suitcases and a carry on, and that's what I did. So I had all this stuff I had to throw away or give away or sell. I had to turn in my car to sell. I had to clean out my place. It was just overwhelming, everything I had to do. And like I said, I had people that were telling me they were going to help me. Nobody did. And I literally got into my truck, put everything into my truck
On your own.
on my own,
Whew.
on my own. I mean, I had people come get a bunch of it, right? But no matter what, there's always so much left over. And I could wait on them, but if I waited on them, it was going to mess up my flight. It was going to mess up my trip. I didn't want to do that. So I got rid of everything in my home. And I was like, it's okay. This person is going to show up and take me to the airport like they promised. Just go and drop your car off. So here I am, 2 bags, a carry on, like I'm trugging. I go to the car place, drop my car off. The person who was supposed to come get me never showed. They contacted me later that night. So I had to get an Uber and I had them take me to the hotel I was going to stay in. And I had planned for myself one night where I could just relax before I went to this new country. And I did that. And everyone that was supposed to help me started contacting me once I got to the hotel. Oh, do you need me? Do you need me? I can show up now. Like, no, sweets. I got it. I got it. And I literally got up the next morning, got on my little shuttle for Mexico for the airport to get to Mexico City, and I left. And I left.
Oof.
It was it was interesting. It was interesting. I would say that that was the hardest part was those last few days before I left. Because mixed in with all that, you start getting doubts. You start having you start questioning yourself. Things seem to pop up out of nowhere. This random guy wants to see me. This friend of mine who hasn't made time for me now has the time. All those things happen. And I feel like it just happened to see, maybe it was like, we want to see if you got it in you. And I did. And
Oh,
I
but
flew, huh?
hazing. hazing you.
Feels like,
Just what in the world?
feels like.
Ah,
I got here, I had never been to Mexico City before. So I got here and I was like, all right, now we need to figure out how we're gonna live. And I figured
mm,
that out. So every time that I have a goal or I'm trying to accomplish something, I always think about how hard it was for me to get here and how I rose to the occasion. So,
mm.
yeah.
Grit. It sounds like you learned a lot about yourself as well as the relationships around you during that time period. It's so painful is the word that's come to mind for me. Incredibly, incredibly painful.
Yeah, I mean, none of my family was near me, so this is all like friends and other people that I knew. But you learn who your people are. You learn who's really in your corner when you need it. Um, and you also learn where their mindset is because I think me moving to Mexico City was audacious to a lot of people, and they didn't understand why I was so determined to make this happen. And I think that was also, you know, probably a big part of it as well.
Mm, mm. Has that shifted how you've done relationships since you've been down here, or like vetted?
Okay, so a little bit about me as a kid. Growing up in Alaska, you remember when I was the only Black kid. So you learn to deal with other people from other ethnicities. And one thing that I caught myself doing before was I just wanted to be friends with everybody, right? I'm the lone Black girl. I just want to be friends with everybody. And one of the things I learned before coming here and what I've really developed while being here are boundaries. That was not um, something I thought I needed to have or I thought was necessary to have with people. And now, with the boundaries that I've created, the standards that I've created, I have some really good friends. I
Mm,
have some really, really good people in my life. And I think a lot of that has to do with the self work I did,
mm,
you know, and I still
absolutely.
think, yeah,
Hmm. You know, when you did that, the construction of boundaries, I think that that defies the script that a lot of Black women get to be like the over functioning Black woman, that takes care of everyone and is, doesn't have boundaries because she is the be all end all for everyone. And so
yeah,
what you've done is radical, right? Because it's actually like centering you in a world where Black women are often not supposed to center ourselves, we're supposed to center everybody else around.
it wasn't normal. It isn't normal for me to center myself, to think of myself first. That is, it almost feels revolutionary to be like, I'll stay home today, or I'm going to take myself out and I don't, like, or I'm going to do something despite what my friends are doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different Latoya, and I really, really am enjoying her right now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So cool. The imprinting is that at 40 is supposed to be the decline of life.
Mhm.
And what you described, I think, feels like a type of rebirth, necessary rebirth that happened to you during
Yeah.
this chapter. It's
Yeah.
lovely. So I'm asking everybody who's participating in this series to do this. And I want you to imagine the person that is out there watching this right now and is like, loves everything that they're hearing that you're saying, but they're like, but that seems so far off from me. What wise counsel would you give to them?
Do you mean moving out of the country or just doing whatever they want for themselves?
I mean, I don't think that you're this to you being humble. I don't think that like the your greatness is just about you having moved out of the country. I think it literally is you living life on your terms. And that includes the move, but it also includes you having evaluated, that you were not satisfied with the life. It includes the bling business. It includes walking away from the good paycheck, you know, you know. So if there is someone who like there's different things that they might want to do, including traveling or living somewhere else, that seems like, could I really start this business or do this new thing? What advice would you give to them?
It's very weird for me to give advice, but I will say that if you have something on your heart, you know it. No one else needs to know it. If you have something you really want to do, whether it's a goal or it's a lifestyle, you don't have to be over 40. You could be of any age. But if you, specifically women that are over 40, who think once you get over 40, life is over or life will never change or grow or get better, I'm here to tell you that's not true. And if you have something that is on your heart to do, do it. Sounds super simple, right? It sounds, like I said before, ridiculous for someone to tell you to just do it. But honestly, for me, sit down, get you some paper, maybe a glass of wine, write down what it is you want to do, and perhaps work backwards. What would it take for you to be able to do what is on your heart to do? For me, when I considered Mexico City, or when I considered leaving the country, I sat down and I was like, okay, where do you want to live? What type of money can you make? What kind of things do you want? What kind of climate? How far do you want to be away from your mom? Like all of the things that are important to you, take a few minutes, make that your self-care and figure out how to do it because you can do it.
Make a list and just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, push through. So I'm gonna call that the life note for this conversation is
Yeah.
make a list and just do it. Just push through. hmm Thank you for being so giving of your time, your wisdom. I wish you continued success in everything that you touch.
Thank you.